Oh, well, hello, viewers. All you piano crazies out there.
How you
Welcome
doing?
to another one of our episodes of PSI. You are at episode 0036.
This is 36?
Yeah, this is 36.
Wow.
And you were born today. You have the same birthday as Stephen Reich. And what's the name of the Italian singer? Raimondi? I can't remember his first name. I can't remember his first name.
Ruggero Raimondi.
Yeah.
Ruggero Raimondi.
Yes, that's right. You were getting Ruggero. I thought it was Ruggero. Ruggero.
Yeah.
His Italian was more beautiful than mine. Say it again.
Ruggero Raimondi.
Oh my gosh. Melts the heart, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, folks, welcome to our show once again. The gentleman you see before me is...
I'm Mark, Dr. Mark.
And I'm Elmer.
Elmer.
And we are
Mark and Elmer's PSI.
Piano Scene Investigations.
And we got Mr. Wagner with us,
Yes, we
Miss
do.
Fernie, and our two little boys, Eager and Grobu.
Oh, welcome.
Wow. All right, the question for today I have for you. Is there any, repertoire? Is there any repertoire you would consider? I mean, you have your aesthetics. You have your repertoire that you love very much and adore.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a repertoire that you consider no man's land for you?
I'd probably say, just because I wouldn't want to bring myself to it, the Concord Sonata Lives,
Okay.
that kind of thing. On the other hand, I love Frederick Shevsky's stuff, and I often thought of doing the Winsboro Cottonmilk Blues.
Yeah.
I thought that's a really cool piece. I've never learned it yet,
No.
but I often thought that's kind of neat. I'm not likely to play the later sonatas of Scriabin, all those trills.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I don't know. I'm sure there's some other people that could, but Horowitz's performances from the 50s
Oh yeah.
of the 8th and 9th sonatas are
Even a 10th.
the 10th, yeah, maybe 9 and 10. I
Yeah.
forget what. The white and black masses.
Yes.
Yeah. Astonishing. My God.
I know.
There's probably, I would never do what you did, the Transcendental Etudes, some of them.
Yeah.
I like Verliacht and some of them, but, I did challenge myself to play.
If age and technique were not an issue.
When I was younger, most everything was open game for me. People brought me stuff to do with chamber music or accompanying.
Concord Sonata, you do?
Probably not.
No. Okay.
No, there's certain things. Well, I would say one thing that I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And especially since I learned from Ellsworth.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would not do things that are just clearly too big and too dangerous for my hand,
Okay.
where I could hurt myself.
Right.
And possibly hurt myself badly that I might never be able to play well again.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, I think that means the third Rachmaninoff concerto is probably out for me. Certain Rachmaninoff stuff, definitely. I played some of his stuff.
Yeah.
And love it, but some things, no. Weber sometimes is problematic for me because he had a big hand. Carl Maria von Weber.
Yeah.
I played the Sonata of Bartók, Allegro Barbaro, for example. I learned it and I played it in a student concert.
You've done the Bartók Sonata.
I studied it with Miss Montella. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
The Sonatina, the Sonata, and the Allegro Barbaro. Isn't that what it is? Allegro Barbaro.
Yeah, Allegro Barbaro.
And some other things.
Yeah.
And you know, I played my share of list transcription, song transcription. I played all the Brahms violin sonatas, cello sonatas. What did I do with the viola? Oh, you heard sonatas for viola. Yeah.
The Brahms Sonata number 2.
Yeah, E flat, right?
Yeah.
And then I played a bunch of Brahms. There's a few things that are a little... I've just gotten to be sensitive, I feel, about what my stretch is and how much repetition there might be. Like, is it the Chopin Prelude? Which one is it? The Levine recorded.
Oh, that. That's the Etude number 11, Opus 10, number 11.
It's an A flat, isn't it?
It's an E flat.
E flat. No, I just wouldn't play it.
Yeah.
I actually tried to learn all the preludes at one time with Professor Wynn.
Yeah.
He set that as kind of a repertoire and technical goal.
Yeah.
I learned quite a few of them, but some of them, no.
B flat minor. Bum 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 bum. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You did that one?
That's just,
Yeah.
scurrious stuff, kind of thing like that. That was okay. Played bum 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 bum. That's G minor.
Yeah.
Played the 24th was a D minor.
D minor.
Daga daga dum daga daga dum. That's
a bit of a stretch.
Dum, but it's repetitive, and I don't know. It worked okay for me, but I got a bigger stretch than that. But maybe I gave you a longer lesson or like answered you wanted. But there's definitely some pieces. I guess I would say now.
Yeah.
It's anything that would potentially damage my mechanism or hurt it. Yeah. Somebody else can do that stuff. Bigger people. Taller people with big monkey hands. Good for them. And then just some pieces where I don't feel that the time and energy invested in conquering, conquering the work, and then bringing it to a level of some musical sophistication is worth it. So I would think something like the Concord Sonata, for example, and I greatly admire those people that can do that stuff, bring it off.
Okay.
What about you?
Me? Well, no man's land.
Charles Alcon is a person that a friend of mine loved, and he had big hands. Yeah. And I don't see it.
No, Alcon. No. That's also the same way.
Alfonso?
That's all. His hands.
I didn't know that.
Oh boy, but but he was smart though. He did compose pieces. He understood that his hands were big, and he wanted people to play his music. So he wrote it in a standard, to many pieces that were accessible for people with, octave or less.
Well, actually, my teacher Howard complimented me on my hand shape, my palm, and my fingers and everything. He had a little bit thinner, longer fingers, and a really long thumb. And he actually said, "You have a really ideal hand for most piano music."
This is Howard Kerr?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought was nice to hear. He was very good, nice, and said good things about me. And he actually said, he confided, he said, sometimes there's disadvantages to having a bigger hand. Because he said, you get into this kind of,
oh yeah,
little hive of bees kind of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And he said, it can all kind of get in the way.
Yeah.
You kind of wish that you had one knuckle less. You know, so-
Yeah. Rachmaninoff used to complain that he found playing octaves very difficult.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Well, they're probably small to him.
Yeah.
It was like for us playing sixths.
Yeah.
Which I hate.
Yeah. And he probably inherited it from his uncle. His
Yeah.
uncle used to play the middle octave section, the heroic polonaise.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, really?
That thing. So, but anyways, this was a prelude to our segment here that I want to introduce. Folks, you've been here with us long enough, I hope. And if you new people know, this next segment, PSI, High Plains
Oh, the
Drifter,
Drifter.
favorite.
We all got our hats on now.
That's wonderful.
I'll put one on.
Okay, anyways.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, you saw this?
I saw the cover.
You saw the cover. Okay. One of my latest purchases. This is a book by Walter E. Smith called The Black Mozart, Le Chevalier de Saint-Georges.
They did a big movie about him
They did.
a while back.
Yeah. Well, I think it's been about
He was
6
from,
to 8 months.
He was from Barbados or somewhere down there, right?
Something like that.
One of the British Caribbean islands. And
Showed
he
the
ended
book.
up having a gift.
Yep.
Violin. Somebody found out and they brought him to England and trained him. And he had an amazing career.
Yeah. Well,
And I've heard, subsequently then I heard some of his compositions.
yeah.
I mean, I would say maybe no Mozart, but on the other hand, it sounds like a lot of that,
Hmm.
you know, high classical 18th century stuff that everybody was writing.
Yeah,
Back
basically. I haven't got started on this book yet, but so if some of you are not familiar with this individual, he was a contemporary of Mozart.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about him. All I know is he was his father was a Englishman, I think, and
is that
his
how it worked?
wife was
Black lady.
a black lady, and they had this child. And he showed an interest. Well, basically, what happened was his father, was a man who understood his responsibilities.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, he understood his responsibilities and says, "Okay, I will raise the boy as my own. He is my son. I love him." And he said, "But as my son, I want him to grow up to be a gentleman."
We're making a mistake though. Wasn't British.
He wasn't British?
French.
Okay, French.
Spoke French.
Excuse me, French.
And it was from the island of Guadeloupe.
Guadeloupe?
Been in French possession since 1635.
Wow.
Columbus discovered it in 1493.
Okay. So anyways,
Wow.
so he went to
Went to Paris.
Yeah.
That's where he
basically.
got his training.
So anyways, yeah, he supposedly he's a individual with many gifts. He does play the violin, he does compose, and he's a master fencer.
There you go.
So apparently he's
Just
a master
picture,
fencer. That's his
One of his things.
page. What is it? The page
With the
from
music.
Concerto, Opus 5, number 2. Wow, that's a lot.
A lot of notes.
That is a lot of notes. Wow.
And he was
Now-
really highly regarded.
Yeah, if you want to find out about the man, you really have to read about it. The movie, I've seen some clips from it. Basically, the movie is for public consumption. Okay,
Yeah.
It's not. If you're looking for a factual biography on the man, it definitely does not do that. There's a particular scene in the movie where Mozart's about ready to conduct a concert, and he gives the downbeat, and they start playing, and they barely get through the first couple pages when he comes in the back, and he says, "Hello, Herr Mozart," and everybody stops playing, and they turn around to find out who this guy is, and he says, "May I play with you?" And he goes, and everybody's wondering what's going on here. And so basically what happens is he has the orchestra playing, and basically the two of them are having sort of this violin duel up there on stage. Um, so they're taking turns playing, and it's like what I said. If you want to find out about the man, read the book, okay? Because they improvise cadenzas in this scene, okay? And Mozart, well, he's playing like Mozart, right? This guy, the guy that plays this character, the producers and the director and decided to take some artistic license. He jumps off the stage and starts doing this blues Jimi Hendrix licks on his violin, and then slowly it becomes more classically idiomatic. But
Now, I think in a moment like that, and I would appreciate it if any of my black friends or black listeners would comment about it. I think that's pandering to the idea that, well, the only way we're going to get black people to come to this movie and watch it is we do their music.
yeah,
I know some really good colleagues and friends of mine who are black who play the shit out of Liszt, Brahms, and Beethoven.
yeah,
They don't, and many of us will go later on to a jazz club and listen to some guys do that kind of thing.
yeah,
But that's not our thing to
exactly.
do.
Yeah,
Honestly. But now this guy, I was thinking that Beethoven knew a very famous mulatto violinist.
yeah.
The
Of
Kreutzer
course, sir.
was written for a black violinist.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. And that kind of stuff. Did you learn that in school, or how did you find out about that?
Who? Him?
No, about the
movie?
Kreutzer, for
The
example.
Kreutzer? Oh, the
Is
Kreutzer.
that commonly taught?
No, it's not commonly done. All right, want to know how I found out about it?
Yeah.
I went to the library and pulled out one of those Time Life albums like this.
Yeah.
It's in the Beethoven collection.
Uh-huh.
Time Life, and I didn't know what the heck Kreutzer was. I just wanted to listen to the record and listen to the music.
Yeah.
It didn't give a very clear indication of the history.
Is it the eighth sonata? Yeah.
I think so.
Kreutzer
Yeah.
is the eighth violin sonata of Beethoven.
Yeah.
It's a big one. And it's very famous because it really puts both the pianist and the violinist to work.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah, but
You played it?
But the Bible, yes, I
Wow.
played that. I love the Spring Sonata.
Yeah, I've done that one too.
One of my favorite performances of it is Rachmaninoff and Fritz Kreisler.
Fritz Kreisler, yeah.
It's a wonderful performance.
They did the Kreutzer too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't there Greek Sonata recorded as well?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Number 3,
Yeah.
C minor. Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one.
So interesting.
Yeah, so anyways, here it is. I just picked it up today, this one.
Yeah, it's not like tiny print, so it looks like a fast read.
Oh yeah, it does. So, anyways, what else did I pick up here? Oh yeah, this is interesting. I picked up a CD conducted by Pierre Boulez. Boulez or Boulez?
Boulez.
Okay, and it's interesting content here. He is conducting Igor Stravinsky's The Flood, which is basically an opera. There is this La Messe de Tournai, and the authorship of that work is anonymous. It's a 14th century work. Olivier Messiaens was, oh, you tell me, it's that one right there. Oiseau or something.
Oiseau exotique, exotic bird.
Exotic Bird. And that's actually work for piano and the orchestra.
Oh, it's just a Bela Bartok's Cantata Profana.
Yeah.
Oh, this is very interesting. This is with the Chorus Symphony Orchestra of the Bavarian Radio Orchestra.
Yeah.
This is the one that, actually a very famous orchestra.
Yeah.
It's now considered one of the two great orchestras in Bavaria. There's the Munich Philharmonic and this one.
Wow.
This one, Raphael Kubelik was the music director for a period of time. And now Simon Rattle is taking over. He was in Berlin, then he went to LSO for a little while in London, but then he's, I like it better in Germany, and he went back and he's taken over the radio orchestra. This one we don't know so well, this orchestra here in America, but they have a well-deserved reputation for really fine playing. And when you work with Pierre Boulez, the guy's renowned technical master about stuff, really precise, really clean. As you imagine,
Yeah.
if you could perform his music, there you go. Somebody that I'd be afraid to tackle.
Tackle.
Professor Wynn, my teacher at Wittenberg, God love you,
Yeah.
learned the second sonata.
Sonata. I remember. Yeah.
I had no idea what the hell was going on. I was pretty young.
It's no man's land.
But it was interesting the way he put it. The way I never forgot how he described the piece before he played it.
Yeah.
Because he loved antiques. He had inherited some money. He was Scottish, so he was really tight otherwise.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a kind and generous man in a way.
Yeah.
And he lived in this 19th century Italian palatial home in Springfield.
Yeah.
And filled it full of serious antiques. I mean, he had a desk from the court of Louis XIV.
Jeez.
I mean, there's
That's
some
amazing.
serious stuff in that
That
house.
is serious.
When he'd been in the military, he brought some things over from Anchorage that technically should have stayed there. He's dead now.
Wow.
But he played that. But before he played it, he referred to trying to understand everything that's going on.
Yeah.
He says, like one of these old Chinese cabinets with the little drawers in them, just the little drawers that you pull out and see what's in there. And you try another one, and then sometimes they have secret connections where to open one of the doors, you have to push a secret button, and then 2 or 3 of them will pop out at one time. Apparently, I own something like that.
Huh.
I remember that story. I don't remember the piece. But I did see, I was at the 20th anniversary? Or 25th? Anyway, I have the original, I think 1975, no, it had been later than that. What was it, 1980 or something? There's a famous, I have it on LP, recording that he did at Parsifal at Bayreuth. Boulez.
Boulez, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's famous because it's one of the shortest versions. He takes the tempo, he keeps it moving along. I'm not sure what the anniversary was, because I don't remember when it. I thought it was 70. Could have been 30 years, 40 years. Anyway, it was in there, somewhere in the 2000s.
Yeah.
And I was in Bayreuth, and I got, because of my connection there with some folks, I got tickets to the Parsifal, and I was really looking forward to it because Pierre Boulez was conducting. And, I know why I got the tickets. Because I had helped the, what's her full name? I'll look it up. Can't think of her first name right now. Michelle DeYoung. She's from outside of Boulder, outside of Colorado. I think her parents lived in, I can't remember the name of the town, just immediately northeast of it. But she was in Colorado in the summer, and she went to the University College of Music, said, I'm singing Kundry in Parsifal with Pierre Boulez. We're doing some scenes at Carnegie Hall, and then we're doing the whole McCoy at Bayreuth next summer. And I need to prepare the second act. The second act is all about Kundry, big time. And she said, is there anybody that can help me prepare it? And they said, oh, we don't have Wagner rights here. But then they said, oh, no. We have a graduate who's living in Denver. And he's a Wagner nut.
Oh, Tim.
And he actually, and at the time it's true, but by the time she came to me, and he actually worked at Bayreuth.
Yeah.
He said, oh, okay. So we did a few sessions together. I helped her with the second act of Parsifal. And, some other parts, but mostly the second act. And then it was really fun because then when I was in Bayreuth, there's a famous, several, but there's a famous record and bookstore.
Yeah.
Just up the ways into the old city before you get over to the Twin Tower Church.
Yeah.
It was a lovely day, as it often is in the summertime there. And she was outdoors signing her CDs to people that were waiting in line.
Yeah.
And so I saw that it had a sign. It said Michelle DeYoung, Auf Deutsch, everything signing stuff today. You get to meet her in person. And I didn't know. I just was walking through town because I came to see the whole production, but I didn't know she's going to be doing that.
Yeah.
So I got in line,
and
she saw me from like 2 or 3 people back. I behind a few people to that, and she's a big girl. I mean, a lot of Wagner singers are. I mean, she's what do you call it? Amazon. I mean, at least 6'1".
Wow.
And not fat, but just
built. Yeah.
You wouldn't want to wrestle her if she got angry.
Yeah.
And she just got up. She looked up and she, "Oh my God, Marc!" And she pushes herself up off the desk and she comes running around. And I didn't expect this to happen. And I said, "Hey, how are you? Did you get the huge?" She said, "Hello, I'm so glad you're here. When are you coming to hear us?" And I said, "I got tickets or something." And what I really love.
What?
All of these German and other Wagner fans and everything is like, "Oh God, this guy must be somebody important. Should I get his autograph as well?" I mean, it's so amazing. It's so weird. The whole thing, the starstruckness of the people that show up there and stuff. But she said, "Did you come here for me to sign something?" "No," I said, "I come and say hi." "Well, come on over to the desk and sit down with me, and we could talk while I'm signing things and stuff." And everybody's like looking, "Now who's this guy?" Nobody. I'm just a pianist and helper. But the Boulez, what was really cool, now Schlingensief, I think was his name, did this absolutely amazing staging of the opera, multimedia, all kinds of stuff, very interesting, crossing through different times and things. People hated it. They hated it. This was, I believe, what happened, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Schlingensief is a very famous artist, director in Germany. Yeah. I think he's still alive. I loved it because it was full of esoteric symbolism. Lots and lots. And I'm a big student of esoteric symbolism, which means hidden meanings and symbols and numbers and metaphors and all kinds of things like that. I've done a lot of work with it. I mean, come on, Carl Jung wrote about esoteric symbolism, and its application to things in general world culture. It's a fascinating topic. Find these threads of connectivity around the globe with cultures that may or may not have really known about each other. But the common things are there. The common understanding of representational symbols are the same. Now, how do you explain that? How did that happen? Jung thought it had something to do with a shared mind on the part of human beings, that wherever we were, that there was a possibility for people to know similar kinds of things, whatever. Anyway, I loved the production. I was nuts for it. And I went to see Steingraber, Udo Steingraber, who is the owner and the builder of the Steingraber pianos in Bayreuth. And we were pretty good, close guys. I helped him a few years back to refine some things, some of his pianos. I have an offer from him anytime I want to get a upright, but he said, I'll sell you an upright at our cost. And wherever you are, once you finally settled, you know where you want to be and everything, we'll build your piano. So that's cool. If that ever happens, I'll let you know. But the music, when Boulez conducted it, was like Verdi. There was buoyancy and almost dance-like, and a more lightness, and wow, the clarity of the music in some kind of structure. I don't think that he forced anything on the music, but he found, I would say, more traditionally underlying kinds of concepts, kind of under all of the almost Baroque incrustations of all of the chromaticism and all of the stuff that would have come into late Wagner. But there was something still there. I just think the performance was like 3.25 hours, 3.5 hours, maybe tops. And I've been to Giuseppe Sinopoli connected one that went on forever. Yeah. It was beautiful. And I like Parsifal, that kind of. I love Bruno Walter's original recordings of it, but I asked her. I said, "So what's it like to work with Pierre Boulez?" And she said, "A little scary."
A little scary.
I mean, so long as you're prepared and you got your stuff, and she said you don't walk in there without knowing your shit backwards and forwards, and knowing everything you can possibly know about it, because he does, and he wants it that way. He did. I don't know if he was the music director, but there's a particular period of history where he does a lot of recordings with the Cleveland Orchestra.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, I know about that.
He's been over here in the States and did some. I don't know if it was guest conducting, or I don't know that he ever actually served as music director.
No, he did mostly guest conducting, because I remember
but
him
with
in
Cleveland,
New York.
apparently he did quite a lot of it with him for a period of time. And he's a really, I think people don't know him. Well, I'll shut up after this. I got excited about it because I don't know his music that well. I don't know his music. From what I do know about it, from having said Professor Wren, and he talked to me about the whole process of learning the second sonata. Yeah, I don't think I put myself through it.
Oh,
But on the other hand, Pierre Boulez as a conductor and as a musician, razor sharp incision in terms of interpretations the way he does it, and he's a bit like, this is the way it should be. This is the way it has to go. Quite convinced to his ideas, Anyway, but that must be a cool recording.
Oh, yeah, it is a very cool. By the way, the last time I heard the sonata by Boulez was the Van Cliburn competition. I have a recording.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was at
Who
the Van
played
Cliburn. It was played by one Christopher O'Reilly.
No kidding.
It was Christopher O'Reilly, and he performed it at the Van Cliburn competition. Got third place.
Now Christopher is up at Madison now, right?
Yeah, he is. He's the one that was.
He's the new artist in residence.
Yeah, he did that radio program From the Top with his daughter.
Yeah.
And so they do all that traveling and invite kids to come up and perform with him.
I think he took over after Howard retired. I think he came into that particular chair. Yeah. Gunnar was there before Howard.
Yeah.
And then Howard came in, and then after Howard, I think Christopher O'Reilly.
Yeah. Oh, and he's also a transcriber. He does transcriptions. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, he does transcriptions. He's done the.
Yes, I know about that.
Yeah.
He's another one that gets into stuff, too.
Yeah, I think so. He did that Bien Malika from the Leaves. Like, what is it called? Do you remember? Malika. Bien Malika from the Flower Duet from Lakme.
Lakme.
Yeah, from Lakme.
Yeah.
He also did a piano transcription of Histoire de Soldat.
L'Histoire de Soldat by
Stravinsky.
Yeah.
And he's even went as far as did some song transcriptions by Radiohead, the rock band.
Oh, yeah.
Radio.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So, but anyways, let me show you this CD recording. It's a wonderful recorded performances of these works. Unfortunately, the program notes. There are no program notes. This is they give you the libretto for the choral works in this on this recording, but there are no. You won't find any historical notes or anything about the composer or the performers or anything. It's just the libretto.
We can always look that stuff up elsewhere.
Yeah, I think so. But it would have been nice.
I do know about that. The Flood. I remember seeing it listed, but I don't know the piece at all. Never heard it.
Yeah, it's one of his later works, I think. Yeah, 61, 62. That's a little bit later. Came out around the time. There's another work by Stravinsky that came out around that time called The Wedding.
Oh.
I talked to you about it sort of a little bit in one of our conversations. That's why I had asked you about the Wiccan, since you're so knowledgeable about that.
In fact.
And so, but that's an interesting. Stravinsky's The Wedding, and basically, he says it's not an opera. Basically, it's The Wedding is just something he put together as sort of a ritual to present to the audience,
Oh.
rather than trying to put together a storyline. There's no storyline. It's just the wedding.
Makes me think
So-
when I went, especially in Istanbul, to
Uh-huh.
a performance by the Sufis, you know, the whirling dervishes.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
guys with
yeah.
the white gowns and all that. It's
Yeah.
from the Sufi tradition, the Sufi faith.
Yeah.
And they dance, they whirl, and there's music that accompanies that and some chanting. It's really interesting. It was in a vast auditorium.
Mm.
I mean, even bigger than anything I've ever seen in the States. Sometimes in certain parts of the world, and Turkey,
Yeah.
I mean, the Ottoman Empire. But it was a newer construction. But my God, the whole center section.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was 100 seats across.
Uh,
I mean, from where I was sitting, it was a wave of an aisle down that way, and a wave of an aisle down that way, kind of in the center of it.
Uh-huh.
The thing that bothered me is like when Dad used to take us to church in the old days, and it was a conservative church. And the people at the end, you know, because people would come up to the altar,
Yeah.
and then meet with the minister and the ministers, and they would be probably moving towards it getting baptized in the church, and they'd be playing music and people would be singing stuff. Then there'd be people would be quietly like putting their hymnals away, and walking out to get to the steakhouse first before everybody else, and that kind of thing. The big Sunday lunch rush. Before these guys were even off the stage, and I mean, the reason I mention this,
Yeah.
when the Sufis do their thing,
Yeah.
they're doing a ritual.
Uh,
I mean, they're pulling energy down into this space.
Yeah.
And that's what the whirling is about, to bring magic. I mean, it's like certain Native American dances, or going back into shamanistic
Yeah.
traditions, or Wiccans build a cone of power that they bring down, and then they do certain prayers that they try to heal, or they use the magic to try to do special things with it. There's a way in which the guys start to funnel out, and the last one to go out is the Grand Minister.
mm.
He closes the space, and then he leaves it, and then what was opened has been used and spread around, and then it's returned with thanks back to the divine, and they leave. There's already people flooding out of the theater before it was even over.
Wow.
They were leaving. I mean, the dancing was over.
Yeah.
But there's still the latter part of the ritual. I thought, these are your culture and your people, and
And they're leaving.
and you're leaving before it's truly finished. I mean, and come on, it's like, how rude. I mean, like when I see, you and I talk about this, when I see a really great movie,
Yeah.
I sit and I watch the
The
credits.
credits, exactly.
You know, I just think, and I read them, try to catch the names, and
Yeah.
interested in certain aspects of the filmmaking. Just see, that's cool. Read a few names and things like that. I don't know from Jack, right?
Yeah.
Usually, but it seems like a respectful thing to do
Exactly. Yeah.
because they played a role in that creation. It's nameless or not.
Yeah.
If they hadn't done the work that they'd done, then that movie, as fabulous as it was, wouldn't be like it is. And you own that kind of thing,
Yeah. I mean, they can't. I mean, the people involved in the movie can't be there for a curtain call.
No, of
so
course
there's
not.
the closing
And
credits.
so you give them their due. Why did I get a role like that? I get off on everything.
Well, because of the wedding.
Oh, yeah. I like weddings. I cry at weddings.
You do?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
I think it's a beautiful thing.
Okay. Well, apparently you have some.
Oh, my next?
Yeah, you're next.
Whee! Okay.
It's your turn.
So, I wanted to share something last week.
Yeah.
That I have got, but we chattered so much about whatever it was, and then we never got to it. But I'll show it to you in a moment. But then I was, it's weird how this worked. I saw this album over there in my collection. I forgot that I even had this one. This is Ferruccio Busoni performs in 1905.
Oh gosh.
And it's what it gets to is, and in fact, this beautiful box volume and everything is from 1964, and I wanted you to flash some of this up to them when I give it to you. This was, I've seen it released in different situations of this kind of stuff. The important thing is, and I'll put all this stuff up in writing and maybe some of these pictures I can find online and try to share them with you. There was an amazing invention created at the very beginning of the 20th century called the Velta Mignon.
Yeah.
It was a music reproducing system which would extraordinarily record in unbelievable, very dramatic detail every aspect of the performance of a pianist at the piano. And then they would create a piano roll from that.
Yeah.
This is not your typical chugga hold, like Aeolian type of thing where
He's doing the pedaling.
and then the scroll. If you did, people have ever seen this at school.
Yeah.
You put a scroll in there, and there's a player inside the piano, and you do like this to give it energy.
Yeah.
And the scroll turns, and there's all these little lines and bumps and various things on it. It'll make the piano play.
Yeah.
It'll play the song. It does a pretty good job. My father had a Steinway upright that had an Aeolian system in it.
Ooh.
And we had a collection of rolls that we used to play, and stuff was kind of cool. The Velta Mignon, on the other hand, is a beast of much more. I mean, Velta Mignon is to music reproduction, particularly at the beginning of the 20th century, what some people say the one-winged stealth aircrafts that we have access to the technology into. Some people say, oh, that definitely came from aliens. I mean, it's like the stuff is just so incredibly advanced. And I mean, like, what we fly on, a tube in the air with some wings stuck on it and some jet engines on the
thing
back.
that goes
like
that, the propeller.
All right, this is not much better than the Wright brothers in their first plane. in terms of what the military has, all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is what the Velta Mignon was a lot like.
Wow.
Real quickly, I mean, the way it worked is really cool. There was a trough built underneath the keyboard, and there were brass tangents connected to every one of the keys, and they would dip into a trough of mercury that, because of its consistency and nature and everything, and it would transmit, and mercury is very electrically transferred.
Yeah.
It would transfer a current into another machine where there was a very thin kind of paper with 100 lines or something written on it, like in a sense like a score paper, but for player piano.
Right.
And there was ink that was also susceptible to the electrical current coming from the keyboard. So depending on how fast you played, how heavily you played, how deeply you played into the key, like if you're just touching the keys, which means one thing, is the piano action had to have been relatively light and very sensitive, all right, because you're really dealing with, I mean, it's like I said a while back about Horowitz's piano pedal.
Yeah.
You never needed to go past half to maybe 2/3 pedal.
Yeah.
Flooring it was stupid.
Yeah.
Because the dampers were almost all fully up.
Fully up.
Half pedal.
Just touching it, basically.
Yeah, just touch and it's moving. And by
Yeah.
half pedal, they're sufficiently high enough that putting them up any farther isn't going to affect the sound.
Yeah.
That must have been what this was a little bit like. But anyway, then the ink would be transferred onto the paper by electric conductivity, and it would be darker and larger, signifying more depth or more sound or something on the paper. And all this. When they were done playing, then by hand, guy would come in and he would punch in by hand all of the different spaces on the paper, and some were like little dots, and some were like fatter dots, some were like fat squares and different things.
Yeah.
This had to do with the piano playing and with pedaling, and then there was also a way of determining how to reproduce the tempo and the rubato and all this kind of stuff. And then they had a machine called a Vorsetzer, which is a big machine about the size of a upright piano
Ooh.
that they would wheel in, and it would have two little cloth-covered feet which would control the pedals.
Yeah.
And they would have little stubby fingers with felt on them that would sit on every one of the keys.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this about it, but the fingers in the forzetzer in the player were designed just like the human fingers, going with the sense of going back to the wrist to allow for flexing the wrist and certain movement in the knuckles of the fingers and stuff. I mean, as a person writes about this, and I've read some more, this was German ingenuity at the top of the line. This is amazing stuff. So then what they do is after they got all that done, they invite the artist to come back in and he'd sit down, he'd listen to it play. Is this what you played? And they'd just go, hell yes, my God, that's incredible. They sign off on it and then they can make copies. So it was an incredible thing because you didn't need to adjust your own piano to reproduce things. Now, you had to have special stuff to record.
Yeah.
But that was a specially effective piano. But you could put this forzetzer thing on any piano, and it would play that piano. And you bought the special rolls to fit into it. So, the really cool thing, because one of the recordings I have is Claude Debussy playing his own music, which is really very cool to hear, very enlightening. But then they also put out some of, was it Maggie Tate, his favorite singer?
Yeah.
She sings on a lovely sound, which you think must be really correct for French music. She's British. But she actually premiered Darkness and Glory, I believe, and sang a bunch of things. And Debussy's accompanying her in these songs. He loved Maggie Tate. But those are old.
Yeah.
Not even monaural, but I mean really old electric acoustic recordings.
Yeah.
And of course they've edited the best they could to get the sound and everything and playing. It's not bad. But the cool thing is what they're showing here, this is 64, and they have a proposed list of all the people that they want to bring to the, and it was a subscription thing. This is a book that so you can subscribe. You can choose some that you want to get and so forth.
Can I see her?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, also the International Piano, what do they call it? The Music
International Piano
from
Archives?
Maryland?
Yeah. IPA.
The IPA from Maryland became quite famous for this. Yeah. And then
wow, look at all
this stuff was happening from California because what happened, of course, was when this thing was invented, they had a huge factory and they built a lot of these playing machines and then, of course, lots of scrolls. But this was a toy for people who had money. And fortunately, there were Americans that bought into this stuff. Wealthy people in New York, and especially in California, who got these things because, you know, the Aeolian company as such, and some of this stuff really didn't come into its own until the 1920s and 1930s, where you get player pianos. And that meant that you could have piano entertainment without necessarily having a pianist there. But this thing, you can have a wonderful piano. And it was like you invited Ferruccio Busoni, Gustav Mahler, Claude Debussy, Rudolf Ganz. You put the forzetzer up in front of your piano, put the paper in, turn it on, and it's like Ferruccio Busoni's right there in your living room playing your piano. And when you hear these recordings, it's amazing because this one made in 1964. This is on the Feuerich Grand, an Austrian piano, with a forzetzer. And the really cool thing about these other recordings I'm going to show you is it's not like some old you know, which in and of itself, musicians like Elmer, we wouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But a lot of this old stuff gets thrown out in the way with the baby in the bathwater because what do they call them? People who connoisseurs for the sound and the,
Oh,
high fidelity people.
oh,
that kind of
the
thing.
audio
The audiophiles, they go
Yeah.
into it for, like being able to stand in front of the orchestra kind of sound. Obviously, that old stuff isn't like that, but what is cool is with the really old stuff, on the other hand, is there's no filtering in it. You get what they did. That's it. That's what gets engraved into the platter. But what's incredible about this is the sensitivity of the recreative ability of the machine. It's like if Busoni, who recorded this in 1905, if you hook up this board, let's say, in 2025, 120 years later, it's like Busoni in person is sitting at the piano and playing it for you right now. The sad thing is I've never seen or been in a situation or been close to a situation where apparently they could actually do this in public. I think the coolest thing would be to be able to go to a concert and just sit there and have some of these great artists play for you in this very day and age.
Yeah.
And it's a totally different thing than electro recorded performances and things like that. So this is the box that came with. I'll put the paper back when you're done. But I years ago began to collect things like this because I got really into it. This was from when I had, this is Everest Records, which I also got from Murray Hill.
Yeah.
Remember Murray Hill was out of New York?
Yeah.
And then they had Everest Records, I think was connected with it, so I learned about it. But I just pulled two out of my library, for example. Here's Joseph Hoffman. It says plays again in stereo on an Imperial Bersendorfer Grand. And it's Velta Mignon. And then this is Myra Hess playing a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to take that.
Sure.
I think that. And again, this is Velta Mignon performances. Now the sad thing is that in World War II, I think it was, the entire Velta Mignon factory and all its contents, all the machinery that built the reproducing machines and all that stuff, was absolutely, completely bombed to the ground by the Allies. And it was lost. And a lot of people thought, oh my God, this stuff's all lost. And for a period of time, it was. And as far as I know, I'm not up on it right now, but I don't think anybody ever reclaimed the Velta Mignon technology. For example, like Mason Hamlin stopped building pianos a long time ago for a while. And then some guys came in and bought the rights to build Mason Hamlins. They bought the plans, and I think there was even some old stuff left in Boston where they made them, and they're making true Mason Hamlins again. But I don't think that ever happened with Velta Mignon. But fortunately, there are forceps and rolls in various collections, private and public, well, reasonably public anyway, university probably, around the United States. And these people have been reissuing these things at different times. I think as far as I know, there seems to be less. I haven't heard about any of this stuff being more recently released, sadly, but this is an amazing experience because usually when you hear Myra Hess or Joseph Hoffman, the best you're hearing is some kind of a monaural reproduction of performances, which in and of itself is not bad. But with Velta Mignon, you could go to Carnegie Hall next week. You could put that thing up against one of the best Steinways in New York. Richard Busoni, Rudolph Kuntz, Myra Hess, Joseph Hoffman. They could play for you.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really cool idea.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what I wanted to show you was some of the CDs I got.
Okay.
You can flash into them. But I found some on
my.
eBay. The most expensive one I bought so far was the Teresa Carreño.
The Tresica.
Because with the purchase and the shipping, she cost $20. But these other guys I got for
Are they from the same company?
10 or less. Yeah, they're all the same.
Oh wow!
It's a company. This is interesting because this company comes out of Texas. Period. And they have a various collection of these. But this is Teresa Carreño, Enrique Granados, Maurice Ravel, and Claude Debussy. And I just listened to Debussy play.
You did?
Oh,
wow.
These are all these people performing themselves. Maurice Ravel playing his own music. Debussy playing his own music. And let me tell you, there are some moments in Debussy's performance which are very insightful. He very much reminds me in some cases. Now, I think it's very clean, very good, very professional playing. But there are moments like in Minstrels and La Danse of Puck, for example. Even Gollywog's Cakewalk a little bit too. Where when Malcolm Bilson was talking with the 19th century fellows studying things, and they both came to an agreement that music, for a long period of time, was based upon the inflection, the understood inflection and meaning of the phrase. So that it wasn't something that was a slave to tempo or to a metronome or something like that, but the phrase itself had a life of its own. And when Debussy plays La Danse of Puck and Minstrels, I wouldn't say this is some kind of quixotic or quirky Vladimir de Pachmanny kind of 19th century thing. It's just that it really makes sense in terms of the characterization he's trying to do. And I thought, now I know Debussy did not like this. He did not like his music being compared to the impressionistic style of painting at the time. He said, my music is not impressionistic, it's very specific. And that's one of the reasons why he put the titles for his preludes at the end of the pieces, because he didn't want you to see the title first and think, oh, this is about an engulfed cathedral. In his mind, by putting it at the end, this reminds me perhaps of that story of, that church that went down into the waves and comes back up every once in a while, near the monks singing. So that the piece should create a memory or an impression of something after you've experienced it, rather than it's concretely, and he would probably say, no, it's not German music, it's French music. It's about the impression that it creates on you in a specific way, And I find when I heard the Minstrels and the Dance of Puck, I played some of this repertoire when I was young with Professor Wynne. Some of it's on there. And I played it very similar to what he did, which makes me feel good because I hadn't heard those recordings at the time. But there's something very impressionistic in a way that it's just creating the momentary impression of minstrels playing their guitars or something, or the spirit Puck dancing around, and stuff. And I heard the Teresa Carreño, which is really some amazing
play, isn't it?
My God, and it's wonderful. The fingers work so well. There's power. And there is some liberty in.
Yes, there is.
Especially the Chopin. Not in a quirky way. But in a way that, to me, seems to make sense. I haven't had a chance to listen to.
Remember, she was a singer as well.
Exactly.
So
very beautiful tone. Really beautiful tone, and that's the cool thing. That was the cool thing about the Debussy performances.
The tone,
the dynamic range, and he sometimes, he could play at the piano the way you would expect a really great conductor to be able to mold the orchestra into a wonderfully dynamic, varied machine. His pianos and pianissimos, and the graceful, almost glossy way he plays sometimes. It's not like the kind of light feathered stuff where they took these old recordings, and sometimes it's like when you see really old films made before World War I, and they don't know exactly what the camera speed was, so they tend to be too fast, or they're kind of jerky or weird in a way, because they were hand cranked by a human. They weren't regularly electronically pulled, on a regular
Yeah.
basis. And that's why the films are a little weird sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes in their older recordings, when they tried to originally reproduce this stuff, it's a little weird.
Yeah, it is.
And one wonders if, like back when they made 78s, if everywhere in the world was on the same scale of speed.
Exactly.
Because we know until the Second World War, when the Nazis ruled most of Europe,
Yeah.
the opera houses and the symphonies were not uniformly using 440.
Yeah.
That was a Nazi thing.
Yeah.
They're the ones that made everybody do 440.
Yeah.
And there's some very interesting numerological questions about that. But Debussy's playing in this recording, and he's not as great as Philotos,
Yeah.
not as pianist.
Yeah.
But it has that quality of potential dynamic variety,
Yeah.
articulation, and an immediate intimacy with character in the music, like what the West would saw.
Yeah.
Or I love the way it plays La Plus Galante.
Love. Yeah.
It is so. It's a little more than what you usually hear people play. Rubinstein doesn't play it this way.
No, I don't.
But I love what Rubinstein does, but it's interesting to hear the composer play it,
Yes.
Really, because you know who else is in this series? If I can find him and all. Mahler. Now, I do have some of this stuff on cassette.
Yeah.
Which a long time ago I recorded off the records in the National Library from the IPA.
Yeah.
The International, no, IPL.
IPL.
Piano Library?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that all still at Maryland, but it's just going to be?
Yeah, it's still a big deal. It's still a big deal. It's just that it's not, I don't think there's much attention given to it as much as it used to.
Yeah.
Now, I'm told that they're still involved with connecting with International Piano Quarterly.
Really?
Yeah, there's still some connection there. And the guy that used
Is that magazine still published? Look it up.
Yeah, we should.
Wow.
However, let's see. The guy that used to be part of the archives, IPA.
IPL, probably.
No, I'm talking IPA. The guy that recorded Neeraj Hazy.
Oh, that's right. It's not library. It's archives.
Yeah.
International Piano Archives.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They have special deals with Marston Records now.
Uh-huh.
So that's how comes Marston Records can come up with some of these
We've
recordings.
mentioned Marston before. If you don't, look up MARSTON Records. I'll put it up on the screen again.
Yes.
Because they are doing some amazing contemporary acoustic engineering stuff with their old recordings. And they're using recordings.
Yes, they
in
are.
many cases, not this felt to be known stuff.
Electrical
And they're
recordings.
extraordinarily good.
Oh yeah, they're very
Really cleaned up in ways. And yet I know that in terms of integrity, that they're also doing their best to preserve everything about the original recordings.
yes.
They're just trying to get rid of any of the extraneous sounds. It's like when Michelangelo supposedly was asked how he did David. Well, I just cut all the unnecessary marble out of the way because he was already in the rock.
Yes.
I like to think that that's what Marston's trying to do.
Yes.
They're not like we had done in the past because of the relatively more primitive qualities of the filtering processes. You remember, like early on, they used to have like the equalizer buttons that would take out
the
some of the
equalizers.
squeaky high stuff,
Yep.
kind of the
Lower the high
and
noise.
they call it compression, right?
Yeah.
Basically, what it would do is it would just take all of that potentially vastly wide
Yeah.
energy, sound energy, and squeeze it into an envelope that was more accessible to the human ear and what they could present as a little bit more refined of a sound.
Yeah.
But you lost certain
Those
qualities
of the sound. Yeah.
I mean, if
Little
you think about
subtleties.
the sweetness of Heifetz's sound and the intensity,
Yes.
he used to play a little sharp on purpose.
Yeah.
That kind of thing would be lost
Yeah.
because there wasn't enough control over the wide parameters to make it audible. And then, frankly, the whole audiophile thing was people going in for these incredibly more and more lifelike
Yeah.
reproductions of music. You have, it's like, I remember Dr. DeHaven out in San Francisco, not per se, but somewhere around there, when Stella Mildred's friend, we went to visit him, his wife, and he wanted to show me at the time his sound system in his own personal library, this window that looked out over San Francisco Bay and all that. I think he was in Los Altos per se, but anyway, he was using taped stuff through a system and all these speakers and things, and it was pretty amazing. We sat down in the chair, and it was like there's a fucking orchestra right there in the room. And, you know, for those people that have that kind of money, the whole thing about that was you could be like Haydn's boss in the 18th century and have real live musicians in your salon, you know, playing for it and everything. Okay, so those are those performances. Can I show them these last two?
Sure.
Okay, then another thing I found, and this is only like $6 or $7. I still want to, if possible with you, and we're going to have to get our horses to do this.
What?
I've never been up to hear the Cleveland Symphony, Cleveland Orchestra live in Severance Hall. Supposedly, the Europeans believe that the Cleveland Orchestra is perhaps our best orchestra in America. And they've had some amazing conductors. I said, like, Velez was there. Franz Welser-Most is there now. George Sell famously was there for a period of time.
For a very long time.
I like to go up there because Welser-Most is leaving after next spring. 2025 he's done. I think he's been there 25 years for a while. But he's going to stop. And I'd really like to hear him doing something with them. They have wonderful guest artists that come in. I mean, they get the better ones that come in there. So this I found.
Oh, this is them.
Particularly because this year, it's Bruckner's 8th Symphony with Cleveland and Welser-Most.
This is yours?
I bought it.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I bought it through...
Withdraw!
I bought it through eBay. And it's from the Cleveland Library, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it says, Cleveland
So
Library.
I just got it recently. Of course, I haven't had time to sit down. But interestingly, they just recently were writing about a performance. I don't know, maybe it wasn't him. But I thought it might have been about Welser-Most conducting Brooklyn. I thought, is there anybody who doesn't get him first and foremost like Welser-Most? So we'll see. But I thought it's recorded in Severance Hall and all of that stuff. And I read a little bit about the recording process, that the musicians and everybody were really excited and enthusiastic about it. So there's like good energy in the whole performance. And it may have been live recorded, actually. I'm not sure. I got that.
Lucky. Back.
And then, as it happens, I don't know how I found this, but I had seen mention of a biography of von Karajan. Recently I've been looking at von Karajan again. We didn't tell this joke, right?
What joke? Oh, the one about the conductors?
Can I tell you that?
You did, you sent it.
I was on a von Karajan research thing recently. There's a wonderful joke where Leonard Bernstein, and we're dating ourselves a little bit. We're going back, a few decades here, but Leonard Bernstein, Karl Böhm, and Herbert von Karajan are all together. And there's some question as to who is the best conductor. And Leonard Bernstein said, well, God told me at one time, I heard God's voice, and he says, you are the best. And then Karl Böhm says, I'm sorry, my dear fellow, but I'm not sure that could be true, because he actually told me that recently. That he said, Karl, you are the best. And then von Karajan's listening to this, and he kind of snorts, and he says, I said nothing of the kind.
That is a good one. That is a good
I
one.
think I got into this because I really love what the Berlin Philharmonic is doing in its recent history.
Yeah.
I love Kirill Petriko's work with them. He's a Russian Jewish fella, and they love working together. And he's a very different personality. He's very private, very quiet. He's a composer himself, so like Boulez in a sense, he's attracted to contemporary music, and they do a lot of that. And I love to recommend the Digital Concert Hall, which I initially started free in the COVID period, and then I pay, I think it's $16 a month for it now. But I have access to everything in their archives, going back decades, probably now 100 years.
Wow.
And live performances and things. You know, you can literally sit here 6 hours behind if you've got the right kind of schedule. Of course, it's available recorded as well. But you can actually tune in through the Digital Concert Hall and hear the actual performance that they're doing in Berlin at that very moment in real time.
Cool.
Anyway,
well, I'm sitting
not
here
sure
with
why,
bated
but
breath what this is.
I got
What is it?
into Funkarian again, and I found this book. What I read, and I'm interested in purchasing, but it's still kind of big and it's pricey.
Okay.
I mean, the cheapest used price I could find is $35, and I'd like to see it come down.
And what is it?
The world-acknowledged ultimate biography on Herbert von Karajan by a guy named Richard Osborne, British writer.
Okay. Wow.
And I have a feeling that this book probably served as the springboard for the ultimate vast biography called Conversations with von Karajan.
Oh my.
And it's a really interesting thing. I've kind of like just cracked open the book at different pages and read things.
And this is recently purchased?
Yeah.
Wow.
I got it for $6.
Oh, not bad.
There's a picture of the two of them in the back. That's not the price I paid for it, but apparently that's what he paid for.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Wow. Look at that.
But I'm not ready to spend money on the full biography. Plus, it's like nearly 500 pages. It's a serious read. And I have to make space for it. Laura says we're going to have to get a bigger place if I keep ordering books.
Oh, gosh.
But this is in and of itself quite interesting.
Yes, this is very interesting.
Von Karajan, you know what as I read about him, I know that there's some people that hate him and hate what he may have represented. And then there's other people that think he's the best.
Yeah.
And he finally fell out of favor ultimately with the Berlin Philharmonic, which is why he left. He wanted to bring on Sabine Meyer, the clarinetist, into the orchestra, and they would not let her in.
Really?
This is a white man's organization. It's going to stay that way. We are done with your shit. And they basically uninvited him, and he just said, well, screw you. And he left. And that's when he started going down to Vienna and working more with them and doing some work
elsewhere. I did not know that.
But he went back to Austria to a great extent and worked there. Yeah. But I'm glad he was with him for 30 years.
Yeah.
Basically, after Fort Wrangler was done, after the war, and they were both cleared of any kind of Nazi stuff, Fort Wrangler wasn't really a friend of the Nazis at any means. And it seems it's possible that von Karajan did it just so he could work.
Yeah.
They officially signed up with the party so he could work, because in many cases you couldn't.
Right.
That's supposedly the extent of that. And what I've learned about him as a man, I know this from having seen things about him. I mean, he had a quietly massive ego, probably. Mm-hmm. Like, I never said anything of the sort.
Yeah.
But when you see him in documentaries and stuff, now who knows, maybe acting a little bit, but I don't think so. He was an incredibly public figure, was very highly visible.
Right.
But he also managed to maintain a certain privacy. Mm-hmm. And insisted on it for his children and his wife, second wife. If you read something about, let's put it this way. I have wonderful things is I have two monster boxes of CDs, which are, I think, British produced, so they're from his earlier work in the 50s, because he managed to get over and conduct, was it the London Symphony? I forget who it was, but one of the big orchestras in England.
Wow.
10 years or something, early on in his career. And one box is completely devoted to opera and things like that.
Yeah.
Vocal things, choral things, and the other one is symphonic repertoire, including charity and all that stuff. And there's like 80 CDs in each one, so it's huge. And then I've got all kinds of other things. He appears in the Beethoven Bicentennial Edition, Time Life, and certain things. And there's all kinds of stuff with this. I have a wonderful LP recording of the Missa Solemnis of Beethoven.
Yeah. I tell you, he's
A lot as a life, as a thinker, as an artist.
he has very few equals.
Yeah, unparalleled, really.
He's very few.
One of the great masters of music, who fortunately also really worked hard to understand and master contemporary recording technology.
Yeah.
He's a big proponent for it.
Oh, yeah.
Huge fan of the Japanese and the things they were developing. They loved him because he was the great Fakaria, and he was a great saying, we got to get Sony equipment, and stuff like that. Panasonic, doing this and that. Left an incredible legacy, and
Absolutely.
I know why I got into it. I saw an article that was looking at the best Bruckner conductors
And he's on it.
of all time, they thought.
Yeah.
And I've got some of their stuff. I have Eugen Joachim, which is actually up there. I have, I'll think of his name perhaps, but I can't think right now. The German who I love so much. But of course, Von Karajan was up there. I don't know if I sent it to you, but it was a long article about this guy listening to recordings and making determination what he thought were some of the greatest performances.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentions a collection that I have, actually, of Von Karajan's. And I think that's why I got into it. But anyway, I was delighted to find the book so inexpensive. And at least it's a start on the biography. Because this is just a conversation between him and Von Karajan. And from what little I read, Karajan's not a snob, and he's not meaning to be rude or anything. But I think one of the things that he was always good about, he knew what he liked, he knew what he thought, he knew how he thought it should be, and that was it. It's his work, it's his statement, it's his interpretation. It's got to be the best that he can make it. Isn't that what he's tried to do, what I've tried to do, what any self-respecting artist tries to do?
Yeah.
At the time when you're working on the interpretation of this, you have to feel it inside of you. This is the way the music must be. Beethoven says, muss es sein. And the answer to him is muss sein. It's got to be this way. So, those are my poetesses.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I go to, Kathy and I go to thrift stores and antique stores. And I tell you, I've looked at some of these old catalogs, record review and catalogs and stuff, they're like that thick. And I tell you, as far as classical music and finding recordings of orchestras, you have no idea. It's Karajan this, Karajan that.
Mm-hmm.
He's everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
He died in the 80s, I think.
Yeah.
Right about then. And he was active, he was active during the latter part of the Nazi period, so from the late 30s. Then he, like a lot of artists, got kind of put on the shelf for a little while until the Allies cleared them.
Yeah.
But then from the early 50s, I think he got going. I'm not sure what year it was that he got going with Berlin, but they took him on. One of the reasons there's some bad blood with Berlin and Celibidache. Sergio Celibidache, the great conductor of Munich, was an assistant to Furtwängler in Berlin. He was Romanian and had come and was quite a young flamboyant, they liked him. Flamboyant isn't maybe the word, actually, but kind of maybe let's say a Southern European or almost Italian kind of energy, which is very different from Furtwängler. I mean, Furtwängler was like a god, the way that people, the
Yeah.
musicians revered him, everybody did. Even the Nazis left him alone.
Yeah.
And he was no friend of the Nazis. There's a famous story. One summer, they managed to get him to come down during Hitler's power, to come down to Bayreuth and conduct at Bayreuth. And he did. He came down and he did his thing.
Yeah.
But there was a house meeting.
Yeah.
At the Wagner house where Siegfried and his British wife, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but she was kind of in love with Hitler. I'm sorry, I can't think of her name. I'll put it up on the page. But Furtwängler and Hitler got into it. And supposedly Hitler threatened Furtwängler.
Yeah.
And he said, you could very well find yourself in a camp with other musicians that aren't allowed to perform in Germany. And Furtwängler said, Mein Führer, then I would be in very good company. And he walked out of the room.
Jeez.
He protected some Jews in his orchestra.
Yeah.
I don't know if it made it all the way to the end, but as long as he could, he had a number of them.
Yeah.
And he protected them. He said, this is the Berlin Philharmonic. You take them out, you change the sound. You know, it is what it is. And for quite a period of time, he managed to. But he stayed there and he worked like my other favorite German conductor. Oh, I've got so many recordings of him from Bayreuth. I think it starts with a T. It's almost there, but
Is there a Richter in there?
not Richter. It's not Tenstedt. It's not Tenstedt. It's
Dingstedt?
I've got him doing especially at Wagner things, and there's a whole bunch of Bruckner symphonies that he recorded. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name. But
Bush?
Knappelsbusch.
Yes.
Fritz Knappelsbusch. I love Knappelsbusch. Well, he was no friend of the Nazis at
Neither.
all. But it's like, I'm German. I do things in the German way. You know?
What's his first name? Knappersbusch?
Hans.
Hans.
Not very German. Hans. And he was also, you know, pushed out the pasture for a while because he'd worked in the Nazi regime. So had Furtwängler. But Yehudi Menuhin especially came to Furtwängler's defense.
Mm-hmm.
Said this guy was no friend of the Nazis, and I'm a Jew telling you this. You know, this is one of the greatest musicians in the world, and he should be allowed to work. They let him come back, I think, in '52, but he was out for like 7 years,
Yeah,
and then he only lived 2 more years. But it was during that time that he went to La Scala and made the famous recordings of The Ring at La Scala with Kirsten Flagstadt and
Wow.
I'm not sure Lars Melchior in that as well. But yeah, it was down there. Now, Maestro Siciliani, I was born about that time, but he's a little ticky baby.
Yeah.
But he talked about people talking about Furtwängler came to La Scala and he taught the Italians to play the Wagner, you know. But he was a little tyke in little socks and kitty boots and stuff.
Can't see it now.
When Von Karajan came to La Scala
Oh, jeez.
in the later 50s, he was like 4 or 5 years old, maybe 6, because he was there more than once. And he remembers he came into the living room, and this relatively small man was sitting in the chair at the table talking with his dad. And he said, this is my son, Alessandro. And he says, Von Karajan turns and just gives it a huge smile. He says, Bobby! And it just like says something in Italian to him. He says, come here. And he picks him up, and he dances him, and he says, what a good little boy, what a wonderful little boy. And he puts him on his lap, and he said, Von Karajan had his arm around his belly, and they were sitting and still talking to each other about the music and stuff.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? The memories this guy has.
Oh, jeez.
Wonderful Italian conductors, still residing in Columbus, Ohio.
That's quite an encounter.
But if you don't know this conductor and this musician,
The younger generation may not.
it's worth going back, and I would highly recommend Bruckner, if you're into that. Actually, his Beethoven symphonies
Yep.
and his Brahms symphonies. One would say it's more the great repertoire, the central chunk of the repertoire. It used to be what symphony orchestras they all did, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much Beethoven was performed every year by nearly every orchestra.
Every
in the
orchestra.
world.
I mean, it's just
You know?
it's their bread and butter.
And then
really.
for a while, the last three Tchaikovsky symphonies, certain. Blah, 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 blah. It's only in this day and age now where I think it's a good thing, and I think it's probably an aspect of appreciation for world cultures exploring their own creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even what's it called, the Black movement, more recently, the Black Awareness Awakening. Just recently during the COVID year, there's a word for it, but the term, I don't remember the term. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Right.
But people that may have been thumbed down by colonial powers and things like that are speaking up, and people are exploring their works. I mean, amazing thing to me is the little tiny country of Finland, composers and the conductors, which are coming out of that country.
Yeah.
My God, it's like, what's in the porridge or something,
I
whatever
know.
the hell they're eating. Because there's a number of fine, Klaus Beckler, of course, one of the famous young ones coming out. I don't know. I haven't really heard enough of it to make any decisions. I really think,
Yes.
with conductors especially, and I also think with certain repertoire that pianists play, conductors, I think, look what they're doing in their 50s and 60s. By then, and whether it's a man or a woman, there's a potential for being a real match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Earlier on, you're bright. Good for you. If you're in your 30s, like Makela is, that's kind of a conductor equivalent of a child prodigy, right?
Yeah.
They're always fascinating, in a way.
Oh yeah.
But then the youth has to wear off, and the real shit has to come.
Yeah, you wonder the prodigiousness develops along with
exactly.
it. Yeah.
And what you expect with that prodigiousness is an incredibly deepening insight that can be communicated.
Yeah.
That then you know stuff. I mean, Bernstein was an amazing young conductor and really did some fine things, but I mean, he was good from the beginning. He was a genius.
Yeah.
But as he gets older, it's just better. I mean, frankly, for Mahler, I have the LP collection, and then I reproduced it in CD.
Yeah.
From the 70s, I think. Big fat blue one. I bought it in Germany, actually.
Yeah.
All LPs. Bernstein and Mahler. That guy could take the densest score and turn it into clearly played chamber music.
Yeah.
I mean, take a Mahler symphony and turn it, or like I remember I've said it before, I don't know if I said it on the show, but with you, there was a performance I heard on the TV one time of George Gershwin's American in Paris.
Yeah.
It was amazing. You could hear boop, 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 boop. It was as though it were a small chamber ensemble.
Yeah.
And it's the whole damn New York Philharmonic. And I have to say that recently, when I listened to some of these Charles Ives symphonic pieces played by the New York Philharmonic, has that same amazing chamber-like quality.
Yeah.
This is the one thing that I think about Leonard Bernstein. I mean, can you imagine in his head, he could identify all of those things and make them happen in some kind of way that they're all layered together, they're all working together. But it's almost like, I don't know if they recorded every little thing separately in the recordings, but there's a period of time where they famously did that, right? Where they took recordings from different sections of the orchestra and they blended it all together.
I remember reading something about that.
Thing, or I don't know what it was called, but something like that. Where you have on the other side of the ocean, Von Karajan, and this integrated sound, this Von Karajan sound that you just know it's him.
Yeah.
And the way that the ensembles played, to a great extent, it was Berlin.
Yeah.
But he also recorded Vienna. I forget which one. The primary orchestra it was in England. He conducted in Paris sometimes as well, here and there. But it's a very different kind of sound. And Bernstein was so brilliant in so many ways. But
I learned so much from him from those young people's concerts.
yes.
Did you ever watch those?
Yes, I did.
Oh, gosh.
Well, they were rebroadcast when I
Yeah.
saw them. But
Yeah, well, you can see them on YouTube now. They're all up there.
or if you want to really get in over your head,
Yeah.
watch the Charles Eliot Norton lectures from Harvard.
Oh, the
He
unanswered
was-
question.
The unanswered question.
Yeah.
He was awarded the prize that year, and it was 6 lectures
Yeah.
on music.
Oh, yeah. The
And
development and everything.
I remember at one point, he's sitting at the piano talking, and with 2 legs and 2 hands, he was talking about probably Stravinsky or something like that. Each limb is beating out a different rhythm. He had 4 different rhythms going on against each other in his own body.
Jeez.
Right foot doing one, left foot doing another, right hand.
There's your polymath. There's your polymath.
I've never seen anybody do that. I mean, I've seen percussionists
Yeah.
do some interesting things.
Yeah. But not that.
No, I've never seen anybody do that.
Yeah.
But there it was, and very clearly you can hear 4 entirely different complex rhythms. Can you imagine the kind of marionette thing? It's just like his body's on strings and they're just like independently doing this. Oh my God. You think about the way the band's brain had to have worked.
You know, I have a theory behind that. Have you ever seen his piano transcription of Aaron Copland's El Salam Mexico?
Yes.
Yeah, it's got something like that in the score, where it's different rhythms going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And he's got certain slurs here and certain slurs there, where the rhythms are just sort of discombobulated, I guess is the best word for it, and every one of them comes out really has to come out clear there.
Yeah.
You know, meanwhile you got this lower note going boom, 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 and then da 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 da. The same going on the right hand, but then left hand is doing exactly opposite of what the right hand's doing, because you've got this bass thing going on here with your 5th and 3rd finger, and finger 1 and 2 doing the 8th notes, which is going from like 6/8 to 7/8, then 5/8. It's
You know, if you guys are young, you don't know Bernstein well.
Yeah.
Enough, my God.
Hey, that's another
You're
piece we got
missing
to
out.
talk about, the El Salam Mexico.
When I was thinking, when you're talking about that,
Yeah.
you know, Leonard Bernstein wrote West Side Story,
Yeah.
the famous musical.
Yes.
What I was thinking about when he was talking about this is some of the percussion moments in West Side Story, some of the interludes, percussive stuff, especially the fight scene and things like that. Who's the famous, was he a Cuban percussionist? Tito Fuentes, right?
Tito Fuentes.
Tito Fuentes? Fuentes, yeah. Or Ricky Ricardo's band, you know.
Oh, Ricardo. Babalu.
I mean, the stuff that Bernstein has going on in there,
Yeah.
to my ears, is just as sophisticated and maybe more wild than what I've heard from some of the amazing rhythms. Especially, I think the Cubans are really famous for their very sophisticated rhythmic techniques. Unbelievable, you know.
Yeah.
And I love just one more thing about Bernstein. I love the famous stories. I think I said this already. When he goes to Europe and he meets von Karajan for the first time, because there was a huge ego. So there was Bernstein in New York and America, and there was von Karajan in Europe. Kings in their own continent, you know? And Bernstein came over, and then he did some guest conducting in Paris. Eventually, long after the Philharmonic, he did some wonderful recordings with Vienna. Amazing Brahms First Symphony. But he goes over and he meets von Karajan. And And I'm not sure if he ever said it directly to him, but he says, "Oh, my first Nazi," because Bernstein, of course, is Jewish.
Yeah.
And then not so long after that, he meets Carl Bernstein.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of them together shaking hands, and I'm sure he didn't say it directly to Carl Bernstein because he was an older man.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, my second Nazi."
Oh dear.
uh,
I wonder if that movie's going to be coming out anytime soon about it.
on the screen.
Yeah. Is
I
it called, what is it, Maestro?
Is it? Yeah.
I think it's called Maestro.
If you guys know, you let us know.
Yeah.
Put it in
Yeah.
the comments. I
I'm
didn't
still
go
waiting
see
for
it
it.
in the theater. We did go see Tar.
We did see Tar?
That was cool. And I had thought maybe we'd go to see it, but I don't know what happened at that time. I was going to visit.
Yeah.
And I've gotten lazy. I got a great chair, great video.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also
Yeah.
great sound. And I can get up and pee when I have to.
Yeah. You know, there's supposedly John Malkovich is doing
Chelbadake. That hasn't even been released yet.
It hasn't been released.
I looked it up. It's soon to be released. That's
Soon to be released? Okay.
But it may take a while to get on that. And Maestro's probably available streaming somewhere, but you have to pay for
Pay
it.
for it. Okay.
I'd be willing to pay a little bit for it.
Yeah. Well,
Something.
it's been 2 hours.
Are we talking enough?
I think so. I mean,
Did we do enough for you today?
yeah.
yes, that's enough.
Yes, there's plenty to talk about. All right, well, folks, this ends High Plains Thrifter as well as this episode number 36, is it? I think
This is going to be number 36.
Yeah, number
Might be
36.
able to cut it down a little bit if we cut out some of the weather talk. But that
Oh.
was kind of fun.
Oh, it was very fun. I got to introduce some items I picked up
I
here.
didn't show us, but
I
that's
know I did
next
show
time.
it. I'll get it.
Okay.
All right, so,
But we did a good job.
oh, we did an excellent job.
Yeah.
It was good.
And this time it was a lot to do with music.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the last time we talked about it.
Don't
Well,
worry
like
about
the guy said the last time we were talking about the dog and the Chinese
it. Yeah,
medicine,
the Chinese ones.
we learned a lot about poop this time.
Well, folks, if you enjoyed our content, the topics of conversation, you know us, give us a like and a subscribe. You know, tell your friends all about us. You know, and give us some comments below. Okay, and even if you don't have anything to say, you know,
Some emoticons.
give us emojis.
Some good ones.
Some good emojis. You know, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Hopefully.
I don't know, whatever you want. So, but anyways,
Well, we're doing the best we can to
Yeah.
express our passion for this massive field of
Yes.
history, and as we call about it, a lot of times scratching the underbelly of that massive iceberg
yes,
to see what falls out. I mean, the top of the iceberg is pretty obvious,
yeah,
you know, and they all deserve to be up there, I'm
oh,
sure.
yeah, I'm sure.
But there are so many faces, names, performances.
Yeah, like that
People
catalog you
involved.
showed me in that thing.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I didn't know all
I
those
didn't know
people.
all those people.
I don't know who they are.
So there's
But-
plenty to look for out there.
Yeah, well, let's put it this way. We will always find something to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. Always do. So this,
I'm Dr. Mark,
I'm Elmer, and we
are
are
Mark and Elmer's PSI Piano Scene Investigations. Bye, everybody.
See you at
Say
37.
bye,
folks.
Vince.
Bye. Yeah, okay, bye, bye.
See ya. Oh, that's kind of fun.